Hello, and welcome to the second of our lessons all about the planets. Great to see you this morning. So let's just do a little reminder of some of the things that you may need for today, and it's the usual things: a piece of paper, a pen, or a pencil. If you don't have the worksheets that are on the website, or you can find them as JPEGs on the Facebook page. However you wish to do it is entirely up to you. But if you've got the worksheets, have them handy, and you'll need a pen or a pencil to write answers in. If you haven't got the worksheets, it's absolutely fine. Everything will be on the screen that you require. So please have a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. Now, today we're going to sort of launch ourselves right into it from the outset. We are going to listen to the second movement, the start of the second movement of the Planet Suite by Gustav Holst. It's a beautiful piece of music, and it's called Venus, the Bringer of Peace. So what I want you to do is have a listen to the beginning of this piece and answer these questions as you listen to it. And we'll perhaps listen to it maybe twice, I think. No more than that. I don't think you need it more than twice. So if you've got the piece of paper, just write your answers down. If you're using the worksheet, the questions are on the worksheet for you. So the first question is going to be, how many beats are there in a bar? So you've got to count to see how many beats you feel that there are. What instrument, and if you can't name the instrument, don't worry, answer the instrument family instead, so that you've at least got something down there that plays the opening melody, the beginning, the tune at the start. One percussion instrument that's being played, that's quite tricky because they don't play for very long, which is why I'm going to give you two chances at it, because they're only there very briefly. But name one percussion instrument that you think you can hear playing. And is the tempo presto, allegro, or adagio? So this is sort of testing your keywords knowledge that we've looked at over the past few weeks on other projects as well. And if you don't know the answer, have a guess. You've got a 1 in 3 chance of getting it right, and I will go through what those terms mean at the end anyway. So hopefully that is all quite self-explanatory, and you've got yourself organized and you're ready to go. So as usual, I'm going to move out of the way. This is a recording created by me, so it's not a live orchestra playing. It's all computer generated. I do encourage you to listen to a real orchestra after the lesson so that you can hear what it's truly meant to sound like. Here we go. Venus, the Bringer of Peace, the start. So there it is for the first time. Let's have another little listen, particularly for those percussion instruments. Okay, how did you get on? Let's see how you did. Let's see what sort of answers you came up with, and hopefully you've come up with some fantastic ones. So, first one, how many beats are there in a bar? It's 4 beats in a bar. 4 beats in a bar. 2, 3, 4. What instrument or instrument family plays the opening melody? It's actually a horn, but if you put a brass instrument, that's absolutely fine, because I've got to be honest, it's very difficult to identify a horn from a computerized sound, which is why I sort of said, well, if the instrument family, because it is a horn, it's programmed in as a horn, it does sound a bit like a horn, but it's just you can't beat a real French horn. it's you know, it doesn't sound exactly the same. So that's why brass will be absolutely fine. Name one percussion instrument being played. Now this is tricky. This is tricky because they literally play for like a tiny little amount. You've got a glockenspiel. Now a glockenspiel is if you know what a xylophone is, it helps, but it doesn't matter. It's basically an instrument that's got, looks like a little bit like a keyboard in the way that it's laid out, but you hit it with beaters, and the keys are metal on a glockenspiel. On a xylophone, they're wooden. So you're hitting those keys with your beater, and it's got a very tinkly sound to it. So that was the glockenspiel. You could have also have said celeste. Now a celeste is a type of keyboard instrument, and keyboard instruments do sort of fit into the percussion family because you're hitting them with your fingers, and then the little hammers are hitting the strings. So pianos, celestes, any type of keyboard instrument fits into that percussion sort of family. And so the celeste is in there as well. And again, that's got more of a sort of tinkly sound to it. Is the tempo presto, allegro, or adagio? So if I tell you that presto, think of the word presto, very fast. Allegro, fast. Adagio, slow. Which one would you have gone for? I hope you've circled adagio, or you would have said adagio. Adagio means slowly. So presto, very fast. And if you think of that word presto, it's really fast sounding. Allegro, again, fast sounding word. Adagio, it sounds slow. It's sort of laid back. Adagio. So that's the answer to that question. So we've had a good listen to the opening section, and we're going to use this opening section because what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to conduct 4 beats in a bar. Now, when we were doing Peer Gynt, we learned how to conduct in 2 because we were looking at 6/8 time signatures, and we conduct that in 2. So we learned about two beats in a bar. We learned how to conduct in 3 because we did Anitra's dance, and Anitra's dance has got 3 beats in a bar. So today we're going to have a look at conducting in 4 beats in a bar. And as 4/4 or common time is the most common time signature, 4 beats in a bar is used the most, then it makes sense to learn how to conduct in 4. Most pop music's in 4. A majority of music, that's why it's called common time, is in 4. So if we've got 4 beats in a bar, you can see the arrows, and hopefully this helps. It doesn't matter whether you're left-handed or right-handed. It really doesn't matter. You use the hand that is the most comfortable for you. I'm left-handed. I conduct with my left hand, but I can conduct with my right hand as well. Okay, because when I was at university, you were taught to conduct with your right hand rather than your left, but you can conduct with either. It does not matter. So if we start with our hands at the top, I will conduct with both, all right? And you come down for 1, you come into your body for 2, you go away from your body for 3, and you come back up again for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, in, out, up. Down, in, out, up. And it's because you're doing the in and the out. It doesn't matter which hand you're using. As long as you're coming in on the second beat and you're going out on the third beat, it doesn't matter whether you're using your left hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, or your right hand, 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So let's have a go at conducting. It's very slow, so it was going to be very slow beats, and I tend to put a little bounce on the end of mine. I've always put a little bit of a bounce on the end so that you can see where the end of my beat is when I've conducted. So let's have a little go with the music and see how we get on. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. Here's that glockenspiel. Tinkly sound. Celeste. There we go. There we go. So you can see how that conducting 4 beats in a bar, and it doesn't matter whether it's slow or whether it's fast, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. The pattern is exactly the same. Okay, you can conduct in 4. Look at that. You've already learned so much in what? 10 minutes. You know what a celeste is. You know what a glockenspiel is. You can hear what they sound like. And you can conduct in 4. That's a huge amount in 10 minutes. So let's have a little bit of a rest from the music for a second. And let's have a look at Venus, the actual goddess Venus. So what can I tell you about Venus, the goddess, the bringer of peace? Well, she is a Roman goddess of love, beauty, and fertility. Okay, so about growth, and it links in with the seasons and all sorts of things. And she was married to Vulcan, the god of fire. And some legends say that she is the daughter of Jupiter. Venus's sacred month is April. So next month, April. And there are a number of festivals that take place or would have taken place during April to celebrate Venus, the goddess. She's often associated with the Greek goddess Aphrodite because their characteristics and the fact that they're about love, beauty, etc., they're very similar. And so there is this association between Aphrodite and Venus. And she is a symbol of love and beauty in Roman culture. And so she's revered. She's very much worshipped, and this whole idea of love, beauty, and fertility. And just thinking about that fertility thing again, April is the start of spring, and so this idea of new growth and everything starting afresh is, it's probably why April is sort of Venus's month. It all ties in together. Okay, so just a little bit about Venus, not as much as we talked about Mars perhaps last time, but the other thing to bear in mind, and I sort of mention this later on, but when we relate it back to the music, Venus is the only goddess to do with the planets. All of the rest are gods. She is the only goddess. Not just within the planet suite, but within the planets, the only goddess. So a very, very important character to have been given, I suppose that honour way back then, I mean, we would probably feel that maybe more female goddesses should have been named, given names of planets, but it's a different time back then. So let's have a little listen to the next section of Venus, the bringer of peace. The second section. Now, it is different to the first section. I'm not going to say how it's different because I want you to come up with your own ideas about how you think this next section of the music is different to the first section. And how does Holst make the music sound peaceful and calm? Because the whole point of this piece of music about Venus is that it's supposed to be quite chilled out and calm and peaceful. So how is Holst doing that? What is he doing in the music to make it all calm and chilled? Now this one's a little bit longer, so I'm only going to play it the once, and I'm sure you will get lots of ideas down from just hearing it on that one occasion. Okay, so here we are, the second section of Venus, the bringer of peace. Okay, so let's see what ideas you've come up with for how it's different to the first section. So it's actually slightly faster than the first section. The first section was sort of adagio, slow, and this next section, if we use the Italian term for it, we would say it's andante. It's at a walking pace. And then in the music, it has sections where it says animato, which means animated. And so you sort of get that little bit of speed, not a lot. I mean, we're not talking, a presto or anything like that, but it just speeds up a little bit and then it pulls back again. And so it creates just a little bit more of an urgency, but it's not super fast. It's quite steady, really, a walking pace. There are 3 beats in a bar during this section. So we had the 4 beats in a bar at the start. There's 3 beats in a bar here. Maybe that's a little difficult to identify, and I can understand why, and we'll talk about why that might be a little bit harder in a second. You've got the melody being played by woodwind instruments, which, as we found out during Peer Gynt, woodwind instruments are used quite a lot when we're talking about peaceful music. We found that during mourning there was a lot of woodwind being used because it created this peaceful atmosphere. And it's the same here. So we've got the oboe playing the melody, and then you've got the flutes and clarinet playing sort of chords against that. You've also got the strings playing. So the strings are providing the melody too. And sometimes it's a solo violin, and sometimes it's all of the violins. But the violins are playing quite high up in the register at times, and it is very calm and peaceful. They're playing very smoothly. It's not like they're playing staccato and spiky. It's all very smooth and, again, quite calm. It's a real contrast, actually, when you think about what we listened to last week with Mars, which was very aggressive and dramatic and warlike. And then that's all sort of stripped away. And the orchestra for Mars was huge. I mean, we talked about the number of instruments that were being used. And within the orchestra for the planets, there's over 100 performers. And yet for this particular movement, for Venus, there are very few instruments playing. So it's quite a bare sound. It's all stripped back. So again, it just gives it that calmness because there's less going on. It's not as busy. It's not the fact that there's less there means it doesn't feel so frantic and frenetic. It's much more chilled. Okay. Later on in this movement, because it's quite a long movement, it's about 7-8 minutes, something like that, which is why we're not listening to the whole thing. The glockenspiel reappears, you've got the celeste reappearing, and they're creating this very twinkly sound. It's all very delicate. And actually, I've got a little quote from Holst here. Holst said, "The whole of this movement is pervaded by the serenity of a world which nothing seems able to disturb. The mood is unmistakably mystical, and the hero may indeed imagine himself contemplating the twinkling stars on a still night." So what he's trying to get across there is this idea of these twinkling stars. And I think he achieves that very, very well. Now, one of the things that is being used within the music is something called syncopation. Now, this is not a word we've come across before. This is a new key word, syncopation, and it means offbeat. So if you look at the music in front of you, I've color-coded the notes for you to try and make it a little bit easier. The red-headed notes with the sticks going up are the beats themselves. They're the notes that are on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the green-headed notes come in between them. And they're the notes that are offbeat. So if I sort of said it in words, I could do an cha, 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 cha. And the cha is the offbeat and the is the on the beat. So that you get this cha, 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 cha. And when you listen to the Venus section that we've just listened to, and I don't know why it says Mars bringer of war on the slides, missed that one, whoopsie daisy. When you listen to the woodwind playing that section, they are playing on the offbeat. They are playing that syncopation, that syncopated rhythm. So if I just play at you, let's see if we can find the right place. Okay, if we go from about here. It's happening all the way through, but I think it's easier to hear in this this little section here. Okay. Cha, 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 cha. Oh, and there's that pretty little tune. I love that tune. Here we go. Can you hear that offbeat? That was in the strings. Cha, 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 cha. So that cha, cha, cha. Now let's see if you can do it. So if I play the beats, let's see if you can clap in between and create the syncopation. So cha, 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 cha. So you're on the cha. Cha, 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 cha. Syncopation is used a lot in types of music like reggae. Reggae music uses a lot of syncopation. So next time you hear a reggae tune, have a listen to get that feel of the cha, 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 cha. It's very definitely there. Okay, so syncopation. Now let's have a think about Venus the planet, because we haven't even talked about Venus the planet. We've talked about Venus the goddess. We've talked about the music a lot today, which is a good thing. Let's have a little look at the planet itself. So it's the second planet from the sun. So it's going to be, you would expect it to be hot. It's the only planet named after a female god, which we've already talked about. And it's the hottest planet in the solar system. It's even hotter than Mercury. And I mean, Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, but it is even hotter than Mercury. It's very similar in structure and size to the Earth, but it has a thick atmosphere which traps the heat in. Its diameter at its equator is about 7,521 miles. And if we compare that to the Earth is about 7,926. So you can see they are quite similar in the diameter size-wise. It spins slowly, which it's quite nice that Holst has created a very slow movement in this section, because actually Venus moves slowly. It spins slowly, and it actually spins in the opposite direction to the Earth. So the sun rises in the west and it sets in the east. So from sunrise to sunset would be about 117 Earth days. That's a long time. A day on Venus is around 243 Earth days, which is longer than a Venus year, because their year lasts for 225 Earth days. So obviously the year is to do with, you know, it's going around the sun, and the day is it's spinning itself. So a planet where the day is longer than the year, that's just whoa, isn't it? Volcanoes and tectonic forces seem to have erased a lot of the traces of the early surface that would have been on Venus, and its atmosphere is mainly carbon dioxide, but it has clouds there as well, composed of sulfuric acid. So, you know, that's just a tiny bit about the planet, but it's quite a lot really to take in. There's loads more that I could tell you, and like last time, go and have a look at the NASA website, because they've got so much information. That's exactly where I went to. I didn't Wikipedia it or anything like that. I was straight to NASA, because they know what they're talking about. If we have a look at this bit here, Venera is Russian for Venus, and the Soviet Union sent a series of probes to Venus as part of their Venera program from about 1961 through to about 1984. The shortest lasting probe survived for 23 minutes, because you can imagine the atmosphere, gosh, the heat and everything else. So 23 minutes was the shortest length of time that one of their probes lasted. Their longest survived for 2 hours, which doesn't seem very long, but obviously they got information. But it is such an intense planet that it was really difficult, you know, to be able to survive any longer than that. Pictures taken before the landers sort of fried showed quite a barren, rocky landscape, and a sky that was sort of likely to be of some sort of sulphur yellow. But as I say, for more information, go to the NASA website. You can find out lots of stuff from there. So let's look at how Venus has inspired people. We looked at Mars last week, and we talked about War of the Worlds, H.G. Wells, and all of that sort of stuff. This week, there's not so much, but it depends on how you look at it. Music-wise, Venus, the Bringer of Peace, the piece that we've just been listening to, has been used in films and all sorts of things as background music. And it was actually in one of my favourite films. It was used in Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, when Gromit was going to tend to his prize marrow. And I mean, a beautiful piece of music for a beautiful moment when he's looking after his marrow, and he's really looking forward to the vegetable show to be able to take it to. So music can be used, you know, it's not representing Venus at this point, but it is representing love. He loves his marrow and he's tending to it and he's caring for it. And so I suppose you could say in that respect, it fits in with what Venus, the goddess, stands for. If we think about art, images of Venus, the goddess, have been created on sculptures and paintings for thousands of years. Romans would have had, obviously, sculptures of Venus. There's been stuff made of Venus ever since. There's some very famous paintings of Venus. So art is full of pictures and sculptures and things like that to do with Venus, the goddess. And then in literature, so we're thinking of the word, Venus appears in works ranging from classical poetry right through to modern novels. And that can be Venus, the goddess, within the classical poetry, but it can also be Venus, the planet, if we think about modern novels, particularly if we're talking about science fiction. So Venus has had, whether it be the goddess or whether it be the planet, has had an influence musically, literally, the literature, and through art. So what can I ask you to do that might be a little bit of an extension of what we've looked at today? Well, there's a couple of things. And I've got my daughter to thank for this, because she came up with these ideas. She thought these would be brilliant ways of sort of taking it to the next step. So the first thing she suggested was, how about designing your own probe to land on Venus? What would it look like? How would it be powered? How would you prevent it from burning up in Venus's atmosphere? What could you do to make it this amazing probe that would survive for more than maybe 2 hours? So design your own probe and think about how it's going to be powered. How is it going to get there? The power to get there. But equally, how is it going to be powered when it gets there? And how are you going to stop it from sort of disintegrating as soon as it lands? What's it going to look like? So design your own probe. The second thing she thought would be a really good idea would be to write your own piece of music about Venus. Now, I think that's a great idea, but you need to think very carefully about the sounds that you will use and have a think about what you're portraying. Because if you're portraying Venus, the planet, it's going to maybe be a little bit different from Venus, the goddess, because the goddess is all about love and about, it's calm and peaceful. It's bringer of peace. It's very peaceful and calm. Whereas the planet, I would say, is not particularly calm. It's very hot. It's oppressive. It's this thick atmosphere. It's very rocky terrain. Not peaceful and calm at all, I would say. So you would have to make the decision. Which one are you going for? Are you going for a description of Venus, the goddess, or are you going for a description of Venus, the planet? And go from there. Once you've made that decision, then you can make informed decisions about what instruments you might be writing for, what sounds, if you're using a keyboard, you would use, and whether you're going to make it sort of very smooth and calm, like Venus, the Bringer of Peace, where it's using smooth legato music, or whether it's going to be, for this rocky terrain, whether it's going to be more staccato and spiky, to show that it's not all smoothness and light. And how would you describe, how would you make that feeling of heat in the music? Plenty for you to have a go at there, I think. So we've reached the end of our lesson about Venus, and I've really enjoyed it. So next week's lesson, we will be looking at Mercury, the winged messenger. That's our next piece within the planet suite. And we're still using planets that are named after Roman gods. So we'll be looking at Mercury, the god, we'll be looking at the planet itself, just as today, and we'll be looking at the music itself. It's the shortest of the movements that we'll be looking at next week. So we may get to hear a little bit more of the music next week. I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson. If you feel that you can, it would be great if you could support me by donating £5 a month. That would be so helpful, because I have so many ideas and plans. I want to expand and do far more than just the one lesson a week. So if you are able to support, then it would be very, very much appreciated. And just have a read of the information on the screen in front of you to find out how you can do that. Otherwise, from me, that is everything for today, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.